Justin Ross Harris, the father accused of intentionally leaving his 2-year-old son in a hot car to die. Now, after nearly 2 years of court appearances, a divorce, and major pretrial decisions, Harris finally gets his day in court. Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us. I'm Kim Passoff. Today, jury selection begins in Harris's trial in Cobb County. Will Frampton has covered this story since day one and takes a look back at how the events of this case have all led to today.
For the people who were eating dinner here around 5 o'clock on June 18, 2014, it's a sight they will likely never forget. They watched as a car came roaring around the corner right here, came to a stop. A man got out of the front seat and went to the back seat to pull his son out and try to revive him. But little Cooper Harris was already dead.
I'm not sure how someone could forget that they've got a child in the back seat.
Dale Hamilton was among the crowd that witnessed the very beginning of this case that since has drawn national media attention. Justin Ross Harris. He parked his car at Acres Mill Square and seemed to go into a panic as he pulled his 22-month-old son Cooper out of the car.
He was constantly saying, "What have I done? What have I done?"
By that point, investigators believe the boy had already been dead several hours. That morning, Harris took his son with him for breakfast at this Chick-fil-A near Cumberland Mall. And from there, he was supposed to drop Cooper at daycare, but that never happened. Instead, the boy sat in the hot car all day while his dad was at work at Home Depot. Friends and family were upset when Harris was held on suspicion of murder.
Information suggests the manner of death is homicide.
But then, details began to emerge. Police said Harris was sexting with women while he was at work the same day his son sat dying in the car. One of those women was under the age of 18, leading Harris to be indicted for sexual exploitation of a minor. Police also say Harris went out to put something in his car at lunch that day and did not check on his son. He also was shown to have been researching hot car deaths online and was exploring websites about living a child-free life. All of the evidence leading to Harris being indicted on malice murder and child cruelty.
Cooper's death was a horrible, gut-wrenching accident. It was always an accident.
His attorney, Maddox Kilgore, filed several pretrial motions to keep electronic evidence and other evidence out of the trial, but Judge Mary Staley ruled in favor of the prosecution in every case. Legal expert Ray Giudice says virtually nothing has gone right for Harris's defense team.
I think they've found through all these pretrial motions is how strong the case is for the prosecution, and that the judge is basically allowing this very damaging evidence in against the defendant. The fact that his soon-to-be ex-wife, who's filed for divorce, may wind up testifying in this matter, I don't think speaks well for the defense.
Leanna Harris has been subpoenaed in this case, which is expected to get underway after a jury has been picked, likely later this month. In Cobb County, Will Frampton, CBS 46 News.
And we will be in court.
Tom Mesereau, your thoughts on this, and do you think he could get a fair trial with all these rulings that the judge is allowing in, i.e. the text messages, i.e. the Google searches? What's your opinion on this case?
Well, it's a horrible, horrible case. I mean, the notion of letting an innocent, helpless, loving 2-year-old child essentially baked to death in a car, it's absolutely atrocious to even imagine this. I think there'll be tremendous difficulty for the defense to get a fair trial with charges like this. I'm a criminal defense lawyer. I believe in our system. I believe you're presumed innocent till proven guilty beyond any reasonable doubt. But a case like this, the level of prejudice just based on the charges is going to be a mountain to climb. When you throw into that these reportedly scandalous emails, suggesting immorality or whatever they're trying to prove, that's going to make it very, very difficult in the Deep South to get a fair trial, I think. It sounds to me like, again, I'm at such a distance, I don't know the evidence. Anyone who would intentionally do this is an animal, not a human being. If he intentionally did it, I just don't know. It's so cruel and so horrible a thing to even contemplate. And I don't want to prejudge the defense because, I spend most of my career trying to make sure juries don't prejudge my clients, that they get a fair hearing, a fair trial, a right to due process, a right to be presumed innocent till proven guilty beyond any reasonable doubt. But just when I hear these charges, my blood starts to boil. So I'm a human being, too. So
right.
It seems to me that these pretrial rulings are going to make it awfully difficult for anyone to overcome these charges. And I don't know if he's guilty or innocent. If he's guilty, he's an animal, an absolute animal to do something like this. But I don't know the facts.
Right, and the fact that he looked up how to survive in jail, the fact that he looked up how to kill an animal in a car, how damning is that?
That's going to be extremely damning, extremely difficult to overcome. I really think some jurors are going to think this is a monster who would do a thing like this, who would plan a thing like this. It's going to be difficult to overcome a presumption of guilt in this case walking in, and it's going to be awfully difficult to overcome, this kind of evidence on top of the normal biases that will probably enter into the courtroom right away. On the other hand, I have to tell you that, having defended Michael in that trial and having known how horrible the allegations were against him, that he had conspired to falsely imprison a family, to abduct children, that the charges that he had taken a cancer-stricken child and plied him with alcohol to prepare him to be molested. I mean, these were abominable charges, too. They were thrown all over the world. We had to overcome a lot there. We had the truth on our side, and we did. I don't know where the truth lies in this trial, but to overcome this kind of evidence is going to be very, very difficult and might even be impossible.
Right, that's a very good point. And you bring up Michael Jackson, but another high-profile trial that's coming up, and you took a side that wasn't liked by one Gloria Allred, and I'm talking about when Bill Cosby first got charged a couple months back. The prosecutor came out there and he was saying things like it already happened, and you took issue with that, and you took issue with Gloria Allred. So where do you stand now in terms of the Bill Cosby situation?
Well, I have never defended Bill Cosby. I never met him. I don't know the evidence in the case. I don't know whether he did anything wrong or not. What I have defended was his right to a fair trial, his right to due process of law, his right to be presumed innocent till proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, his right to defend himself instead of being Justinian day in and day out to the point where it may be difficult to get a fair trial. And I think no one understands this predicament better than I do, having been lead counsel in the defense of Michael Jackson. I know the way the world media tried to position, the jury so that they would convict. And he was convicted in people's eyes before he had a chance to show up and defend himself. And once he did, their witnesses started falling like bowling pins. So I don't know what's going to happen in the Cosby trial. All of these women have come forward 40 years later, most of them, saying they were raped or they were sexually assaulted. I don't know if they were or they weren't, but I think he has a right to investigate them thoroughly, to find out. I think the defense has a right to determine, what their backgrounds were like, why they were with Mr. Cosby, what they intended to accomplish, what kind of people they were, what were they doing in Hollywood, what kind of a lifestyle were they leading, were they freely taking drugs at parties. They claim some of them at least, I think majority claim they were raped and drugged. I think the defense has a right to investigate and explore these charges and defend them, consistent with the law. So all I did was defend his right to have a fair trial and not to have the just justice foreclosed before he even enters the courtroom. That's all I did. I know it was controversial, but I said what I believe.
Yeah, in fact, Gloria Allred, when you two were on CNN, she made reference that a lot of prosecutors wouldn't go near this case, and then you made a good point in the old actor, I can't think of his name, Arby. Fatty Arbuckle, right. So he was prosecuted too, right?
Well, Fatty Arbuckle, I believe it was the 1920s and 30s, maybe in the 30s, was a very famous, very successful, popular actor in America, a very young age, and he was falsely accused of rape in San Francisco. I believe they went through 3 trials before he was exonerated, but by the time he was exonerated, he was broke, his reputation had been destroyed, and he died of a heart attack not long after this. It went on and on and on. He was eventually exonerated but paid a heavy and permanent price in the process. So I mention that because this notion that, people don't want to prosecute celebrities to me is ridiculous. The Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office has prosecuted celebrities for the last century. They've never been reluctant to go after celebrities. In fact, legendary criminal defense lawyer Clarence Darrow, one of my icons, was prosecuted in Los Angeles for jury bribery. He was destroyed financially and hurt professionally. The first jury, I believe, hung, and the first one hung. The next one acquitted him. Well, I guess they charged him twice. He was acquitted the first time, and then they tried him, and then I think they resolved it. It was a hung jury, and they said, look, just don't come back to Los Angeles, and we won't charge you again. He was hurt terribly, but the point I'm making is they've never been reluctant to go after famous people. I didn't understand what she said at all.
Yeah, and she attacked you in some of the interviews. Like, I don't understand why the defense attorney, I don't take from any defense attorneys. What's her motivation behind all this, Ms. Allred?
To be honest with you, I know Gloria Allred, and in my opinion, she occupies a very important role in American legal culture. I mean, she, for many, many years has been a champion of women's rights, and women have been discriminated against in our legal system in a variety of ways for many years. Women in American society are still not equal. On average, they're paid less. Their opportunities to advance in many organizations, not as good. And I'm talking about law firms. I'm talking about the entertainment industry. I'm talking about a lot of industries. Certainly advances have been made, but not enough. Gloria's position in American society is a very sound one. However, she can be wrong. And, I defended Mike Tyson. It was approximately 2001. He had already been to prison for rape. A woman in San Bernardino County claimed he had raped her. And Gloria Allred immediately signed her up as a client, gave a press conference in support of her. We did a thorough investigation and put together a booklet that I think was extremely persuasive about why this wasn't true. What she said, we presented it to the district attorney, and they decided not to charge, Mike Tyson with this crime. And, Gloria, from what I could see, then just disappeared. Now, you also may recall that she supported a petition to strip Michael Jackson of his parental rights, claiming he was not a fit parent. There was a petition filed with the Department of Children's Services in Santa Barbara County. There was also an investigation by the Department of Children and Family Services in Los Angeles County in California. We had to deal with these issues during the defense of Michael Jackson in his criminal trial, and we called some of the women who had investigated Michael Jackson's, fitness to be a parent as our witnesses in his criminal case. So those are two situations where, in my opinion, Gloria Allred was just plain wrong. And there are two occasions where I think she made very strong suggestions that people were guilty who, in my opinion, were not. So, while I think she occupies a very strong position, an important position in American legal culture, the fact is she can be dead wrong and be very biased, and you have to challenge her when necessary.
No question about it. All right, here's a cut on Oscar Pistorius, and I want to get your take on the other side.
When Oscar Pistorius was last in court, his lawyers announced that he would try to fight his murder conviction in the Constitutional Court. That bid failed. Pistorius now faces sentencing. His sister Ame and father Henke, with whom he has had a strained relationship, were on hand to support him. and it's emerged he was hospitalized over the weekend. Correctional Services has confirmed that Oscar Pistorius